So hello and welcome to 5 Photos, where I take a guest through 5 images that are particularly relevant to them and their life. And today I'm really delighted to welcome Dr Amina Begum, who has been around the 3 principles for about 3.5 years. She's a GP, and what an inspiring story she's got to tell about her journey as a doctor and how the 3 principles is impacting her life. So Amina, just want to say a big hello, lovely to see you.
Hi Liz, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So it would be lovely, you've picked 5 photos. Was that quite difficult to do, to illustrate your journey?
No, I think once I knew the task at hand, it was quite good. And actually, I think I cheated. I've got 2 pictures, a couple of the slides.
So you've actually got 2 pictures of somebody's slides. Oh, I see. So you don't like obeying the rules. That's something I know. But one of the things that we're really keen to do here with the Inner Compass is we really want people to get in touch with their own inner compass. Because we really see that when that happens, well, inspiration seems to be ignited. And I really see that that's the case with you, Amina. So shall we crack on and see the first of your 5 photos?
Yeah, let's go. So my first photo is this, the ladder of success. And I remember my coach saying that something really resonated with me, that it doesn't matter how much we seem to go up this ladder of success, our ability to create our own suffering and sadness is almost equal, if not more. And I really, I got that when he mentioned that. So I was really academic, I don't know how, but I was sort of an A-grade student. I did well in school, college. I sort of stumbled upon medicine somehow, got in without a problem, qualified, and then my journey sort of carried on chasing. So I knew I wanted to be married. So 2 weeks after graduating, got married, 2 weeks. And then I knew I wanted a family, so I was like desperate to start a family. So 6 months after being married, I fell pregnant. And it was amazing, I thought, and it was great. But something in me wasn't settled. Despite what I did, despite what I achieved, despite what I had, I was always on this quest for self-development, personal development, doing this, looking into that. You know, if it's not this Islamic program, then it's this medical program, then it's this NLP. And I just found myself quite low at times, really, really low. And it showed up as anger and bitterness quite often at my children.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you talk about success there, and I guess with anybody looking into your life, you epitomize success. And yet, even though that seemed to be outwardly what was being displayed, it sounds like inside there was just something that wasn't quite settled, wasn't quite right, still searching, still seeking.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
And then, like you said, Liz, 3.5 years ago, when I came into this understanding of how our psychology really works and how we experience life, my goodness, did it open up my life? Did it open up my eyes and my heart? And we talk about in the medical field, a lot of the time, there's a lot of emphasis being put on work-life balance and creating this work-life balance. Do this, do that, the 5 pillars of this and this principle, and make sure you've got this right. And it didn't seem to fall into place until I came across this understanding of how our psychology really works. And I found all of a sudden that I could juggle all my balls and have everything in my life that I already had, but have it in a peace and in a contentment and an ability to actually show up in all these fields as me. And what really stood out for me was how it brought me back to my faith. I mean, obviously I was a born Muslim, and that was very dear to me, and I knew there was a lot of sense in that. But there were times when it wouldn't make sense, or I would not follow the rules or obey, like you said. And I'd get really disturbed by that. And I thought there was something wrong with me, or, you know, but this understanding, I can't explain to you, Liz, how it's brought that all back so solidly.
So I guess the question for me there is that, you know, there'll be people probably watching this going, well, that sounds amazing. What is that thing that you found that seemed to just make sense of so much in your life?
So Sydney Banks, who sort of related all this in the words that we understand now, in the form that we understand now, he talked about this missing link. And he talked about how, you know, there's a lot of studies in psychology about them, you know, our behaviors and our psychology and how it works. And he saw the missing link as spirituality. That actually, when we move away from the spiritual nature of the world, the spiritual nature of the existence, be it God, be it a bigger entity, whatever it is, when we move away from that, we lose ourselves. And I thought, oh, well, that's really interesting. But I thought I had the spiritual link. I thought I had it, right? So that can't be that for me. But what I realized is that the missing link for me was the understanding of our psychology. And that was it for me. So I had the spirituality, I had the psychological understanding now, and that all fed into the physical.
So I'll be really curious then about how this kind of impacted then. This almost sounds like everything kind of fitted into place. Yeah. You found that missing piece, and it would be really interesting to see how that's impacted in your world, I guess, as a GP and in the health service.
Yeah, definitely. So there was a moment in that journey where I was like, well, I'll just see my training to the end. I'm so close. I can't give up now. I couldn't give up now because what would people say? But when I do finally get my certificate, I'll leave and I'll show people this direction. I had it, like, this is what I want to do.
So this being like sharing the three principles.
Yeah, three principles, this understanding, this is where it needs to be, you know. And so I was about 6 to 8 months left of my training, and obviously doing my clinics and preparing for my exams, final exams. And I remember having this patient that came in as a follow-up she'd suffered from a chest infection. I'd never met her before. And she came in, sat down. She goes, oh, we've not met before. I'll just tell you a little bit about me. And for the next 2 minutes, she reeled off her medical conditions. And she goes, well, that's me. But I just want to know if I'm okay, if I'm better from this chest infection. And it sort of blew me. I was like, wow, this lady just sees herself as this list of pathologies, as this list of conditions, as this list of events that have happened. And I stopped her and I said, you know what? I know that you're okay. And it sort of alarmed her. And she goes, okay. And I was like, I said, you know, in this 10-minute consultation that we have, I said to her, look, you know, it sounds like you really see yourself as these conditions. She goes, yeah, well, of course. When I was 14 and diagnosed with diabetes, I said, that's it. Well, I can never get married again. Who's ever going to marry me? And there I was talking to this 62-year-old, and her reality had become that she hadn't got married because she thought she wasn't good enough because of this medical condition. And it really started impacting in the way that I perceived patients and the way that I then spoke to them and listened to them. And it's really impacted on the way that my consultations now play out. And I can see the benefits of that. My patients are really taking to it and improving physically, emotionally, mentally. And now I don't want to leave anymore.
So that's really interesting. There's something about what you're bringing. I mean, you're still a doctor, you're still a GP, you're still helping people with their illness, but it sounds like you've got something slightly additional that you can hope almost that you can bring to the consultation, which is again a bit like this missing piece, this missing link that maybe they hadn't seen for themselves.
Yeah. And then this went on, Liz, to my next picture, which is I wanted to leave. And actually, there's lots of people leaving or wanting to leave. And it didn't matter which journal that I'd open up or which, news article that I'd read, there would be something along the lines of burnout, doctors leaving the profession, and really sad stories of people either becoming addicted to alcohol or drugs or ending their life. Mm. And I remember I used to send articles to my coach saying, we really need to help people like this, and we really need to do something about this, because this shouldn't be happening. Be it a junior doctor ending their life or a consultant cardiologist ending their life after years and years of being an amazing doctor. It just really touched me, and I could feel where that was coming from, and I could understand that when you lose hope, when there is no flicker of hope, not one iota of hope, that's what happens. You escape, you want escape. And it's either into an escape of covering up or an escape of complete end. And so now one of the directions that I want to go down is sharing this understanding with other healthcare professionals. And I've met quite wonderful people along the journey that have come to this understanding and realized that actually the NHS, as troubled as it may seem, struggling as it may appear, there is still hope. It's a beautiful, beautiful service. It's an amazing profession, so noble. And there's hope for us all. And actually, we need more of us. Not less of us, more of us.
I love it. So, and that's so inspiring in a way, because you've had a real personal experience of really seeing and coming up against what felt like a career that was just too much and you were going to leave. Yeah. And then seeing so nothing's changed. It's not like you've got fewer patients or you're getting paid more money or suddenly there's new equipment or new drugs coming on the scene. It's just that you're seeing something so different about how you operate, and it's changing the way you're interacting with the world. And I find that very inspiring.
Interacting with everybody, and I remember listening to somebody else's interview, and they were saying, they're doing the best with what they can. So it's no longer about blaming the people that sit on the executive boards. It's no longer blaming the patients that come in with anything and everything. It's no longer blaming the structure. We need to tend to our own garden. And that has the potential to blossom into something really powerful and really beautiful.
Well, that I think leads us beautifully into what next then for you. What is your hope and what is your way forward, do you think?
Yes. So I now see my understanding of medicine has transformed into a real connection of body, mind, and soul. At university, we study physiology and we study different subjects. And I used to love physiology. Every time I studied how the kidneys would work, oh my God, it blew me away. We couldn't stay on that topic for long because then I'd have to understand the pathology, how the kidneys go wrong, and then the pharmacology of how the drugs work and then how they interact and da-da-da-da-da. But now I just see this amazing coming together of all of this, that how the physiological understanding of how our psychology really works can lead on to the pathological. And it's very real. I'm not saying that it's not there. Depression, anxiety, bipolar, all these, and even not only the mental health problems, Liz, the physical problems, autoimmune conditions. You know, I could reel off a whole load of physical conditions from acne to pelvic pain, but how that can all be traced back to our psychological well-being. And that's now my real dream and passion, to share the understanding of well-being.
And how are you going to do that then?
I'm going to talk to whoever wants to listen, whoever's open for discussion. First and foremost, you know, we have this in our religion as well. It's not what you teach and what you preach, but it's how you are in yourself. And that for me speaks volumes. You know, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the talking and walking Quran. So it's not that you had to go and sit down and say what the Quran said. You just saw his actions and his mannerisms and his qualities, and you'd know about the understanding. And so first and foremost, I pray and I hope that it shows in my practice as a doctor, my practice as a colleague, my practice as a, you know, as a fellow human being. And then see which avenues open up. So talking to patients, getting onto patient participation groups, starting up sort of 6-week programs to help with with this understanding. Starting initially maybe with just mental health, and then looking at the physical conditions as well. And then getting into training programs, universities, GP practices, hospitals, wherever and whoever will listen.
Well, I can imagine, Amina, that there'll be many people who are very inspired and maybe have even more questions that they want to ask you.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you following this interview if they would just like to learn a little bit more about what you're up to and maybe how they can get involved or help with this whole area around the health service?
Yeah. So my email address is probably a good way initially. It's Amina, AMINA.Begum, BEGUM, then the number 3, A.Begum3 at NHS.net. My website is working action. It's coming, draminabegum.com. It's coming. I've bought everything. I just need to get it out and make it public.
Great. So the first step sounds to be just an email.
Yeah.
Email, and then, you know, I know you'll be busy and you can't probably respond to everybody straight away, but I know that this is a conversation that's dear to your heart and you would very much like to hear from people. Yeah. Oh, Amina, it's been, as always, talking to you is such an inspiration, and I really want to say thank you for joining us on In a Compass 5 Photos. Thank you so much.
You're very